I thought
14.1.
No, I don't have that one yet.
No. Oh, lame.
Do you have it?
Yeah. But my wife's the one that commutes mainly to work. She does like an hour drive each way, and she uses it all the time. I don't know if she's tried if she's noticed anything different. I'll talk to her.
Yeah, I just needed it to stop nagging every time I check my phone, and it's like getting a lot better at that. Again, here are the top line numbers: 50 cents versus 55 cents expected on EPS. Revenue 28.6 versus 26.7. So there was a beat on EPS, or a miss on EPS, and a beat on revenues.
One thing I feel like not many people are talking about, we're talking a lot about FSD, the energy, and Optimus, but it feels like the robo taxi phase kind of, or like this craze about it is kind of dying off. Do you think we hear anything about that expansion? I know we saw it in Austin is doing really good, and I think it moves somewhere else as well. I think California. Do you think we hear any more about that?
I think we kind of have to, right? I think we kind of have to. Yeah, I hope we do. I mean, Texas and Nevada is not enough. Like, there has to be a real plan for meaningful expansion. So I would imagine we do hear something. The call is still not starting yet, guys. We are still waiting. They are a couple minutes late. So we are still waiting. But yeah, I do think Robotaxi should be something of an expansion. We'll go back to Trump, and as soon as Elon's live, then we'll go to Elon.
Not a fake story.
Thank you so much. The president of Colombia in a recent interview said that if you won't change, he thinks that people should get rid of you.
We're talking about now Colombia, the country, not the university. Yes. Go ahead. He said what?
He said that if you won't change, then perhaps you can be gotten rid of. Do you view that as a threat?
Well, he's a thug and bad guy. He's a guy that is making a lot of drugs. We've just, as of today, stopped all payments going to Colombia, the country Colombia. Also, the school Colombia. No, we settled. We made a settlement with him. But no, he's a thug, and he's a bad guy, and he's hurt his country very badly. They're doing very poorly, Colombia. They make cocaine. They have cocaine factories. They grow all sorts of crap that's drugs, bad drugs coming into the United States, goes generally through Mexico. And he better watch it, or we'll take very serious action against him and his country. His country is, what he has led his country into is a death trap. Please.
Has the Secretary General presented his Ukraine peace plan to you? Are you prepared to be chairman of the Board of Peace?
Oh, there is no Secretary General peace plan. But I'm here for, I really want to correct it, because I saw some of that in the media. Of course, many people are thinking how to bring this terrible war to an end and supporting the president in doing that. Why I'm here is to dialogue again with the president how I can be, how NATO, my colleagues and other colleagues in NATO can be of maximum support to get that done. But there is no peace plan on the table. I mean, if there is a peace plan, it is what the president said last Friday and Sunday, which is stop where you are. Stop the fighting.
This is about NATO. We're a very proud member of NATO. We have a great relationship with the countries of NATO. I think made much better by our visit a few months ago when they agreed to 5% instead of 2% of GDP. That was a big concession. I think that was a concession that 2 years ago nobody would have said, even a year ago.
Even 9 months ago, before you were elected.
Yeah, they would have said that's not possible. Absolutely. And the difference is they're paying 5% as opposed to not paying 2%. A lot of them weren't paying, with the exception of Spain. I think you're going to have to talk to Spain, because they're not. Spain is not a team player. So other than Spain, everybody's 100%. And you could solve the Spain problem very easily, I think, if you want. Brian, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. And then we'll take Brian. Go ahead.
The soybean farmers, are they going to be getting support from you soon? And
yeah, well, they do. So what's happened, you could say with that, you could say with beef, with all of it. The beef, the ranchers, let's say, who have done a great job, have lost their shirts for many, many years. They've really been decimated. And I helped them a lot. I put tariffs on things coming in.
All right. Call is starting.
Head of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by Elon Musk, Vaibhav Taneja, and a number of other executives. Our Q3 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. We urge shareholders to read our definitive proxy statement, which contains important information about the matters to be voted on at the 2025 annual meeting. During the question and answer portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. Before we jump into Q&A, Elon has some opening remarks. Elon?
Thank you. We're at a critical inflection point for Tesla and our strategy going forward as we bring AI into the real world. I think it's important to emphasize that Tesla really is the leader in real world AI. No one can do what we can do with real world AI. I have pretty good insight into AI in general. I think that Tesla has the highest intelligence density of any AI out there in the car, and that is only going to get better. And we're really just at the beginning of scaling at a quite massively full self-driving and robotaxi, and fundamentally changing the nature of transport. I think people just don't quite appreciate the degree to which this will take off. Where it's honestly it's going to be like a shockwave. So it's a because the cars are all out there. We have millions of cars out there that, with a software update, become full self-driving cars, and we're making a couple million a year. And in fact, with the advent of with what we see now as a clarity on achieving full self-driving, unsupervised full self-driving, I should say, I feel confident in expanding Tesla's production. So that is our intent, to expand as quickly as we can our future production. So I was reticent to do that until we had clarity on achieving unsupervised full self-driving. But at this point, I feel like we've got clarity, and it makes sense to expand production as fast as we reasonably can. We're also making huge impact on the energy sector with battery storage. So with both the Powerwall and especially with the Megapack, we are dramatically improving the ability to generate more energy from the grid. So let me sort of talk a little bit about that, which is, if you look at total U.S. energy capability, for example, there's roughly a terawatt of continuous power available in the U.S., but the average usage over a 24-hour cycle is only half a terawatt because of the big difference between day and night usage. If you buffer the energy with batteries, you can effectively double the energy output of the United States just with batteries, building no incremental power plants. And it's very difficult to build power plants. So they take a long time. There's a lot of permitting, and it's not an industry that's used to moving fast. So we see the potential there for Tesla battery packs to greatly improve the energy output per year for any given grid, US or otherwise. We're also on the cusp of something really tremendous with Optimus, which I think is likely to be, or has potential to be, the biggest product of all time. And it's a difficult project, and it's worth noting that it's not like it's just automatic. I'm unaware of any robot program by Ford or GM or any of our U.S. sort of car companies. People I think maybe think of Tesla as a car company. We mostly make cars and battery packs. So it's not like it's not just like an obvious fall off a log thing to make Optimus, but we do have the ingredients of real world AI and exceptional electrical and mechanical engineering capabilities and the ability to scale production, which I don't think anyone else has all of those ingredients. Yeah, with version 14 of the of self-driving, which you can see the reactions of people online. They're quite amazed. And actually, anyone in the US can get version 14 if they just go and select, I want the advanced software in their car. So if you're listening right now and you'd like to try it out, just go in settings and say, I want the advanced software, and you will get version 14. Yeah, so on the Megapack front, we unveiled Megablock, Megapack 3. We also have exciting plans for Megapack 4. Megapack 4 will incorporate a lot of the a lot of what is normally in a substation and be able to output at probably 35 kilovolts directly. So this greatly improves our ability to deploy Megapack because it's not dependent on building a substation up through 35 kV for Megapack 4. So that'll be that's the engineering priority for Megapack. We look forward to unveiling Optimus V3. Probably in Q1. I think it'll be ready for to show off, and that I think is going to be quite remarkable. It won't even seem like a robot. It'll seem like a person in a robot suit, which is kind of how we started off with Optimus. But it'll seem so real that you'll need to like poke it, I think, to believe that it's actually a robot. And obviously, like the real world intelligence we've developed for the car, most of that transfers to Optimus. So it's a very good starting point. In conclusion, we're excited about the updated mission of Tesla, which is sustainable abundance. So going beyond sustainable energy to say sustainable abundance is the mission, where we believe with Optimus and self-driving that you can actually create a world where there is no poverty, where everyone has access to the finest medical care. Optimus will be an incredible surgeon, for example. And imagine if everyone had access to an incredible surgeon. So I think there's, of course, we need to make sure Optimus is safe and everything, but I do think we're headed for a world of sustainable abundance, and that I'm excited to work with the Tesla team to make that happen.
Great. Thank you very much, Elon. Vaibhav also has some opening remarks.
Thanks, Travis. Q3 was a special quarter at multiple levels. We set new records not just for deliveries and deployments, but also around a range of financial metrics from total revenues, energy gross profit, energy margins to free cash flow. This was the result of continued confidence of our customers in our products and the relentless efforts by the Tesla team. The strength in deliveries was attributed to strong performance across all regions. Greater China and APAC were up sequentially 33% and 29% respectively. North America was up 28%, while EMEA was up 25%. The pace in deliveries was the function of continued excitement around the new Model Y. We had previously talked about 2025 being the year of the Y, and have since delivered on that promise with the new Model Y released in Q1, followed by Model Y long wheelbase, and performance, and more recently, Standard Y in North America and EMEA. We're now operating a robotaxi in 2 markets, Austin and most Bay Area cities. We've already expanded our coverage area in Austin 3 times since the initial launch and are on pace to continue expanding further. Unlike our competitors, our robotaxi fleet blends in the markets we operate in since they don't have extra sensor sets or peripherals which make them stick out. This is an underappreciated aspect of our current vehicle offerings, which are all designed for autonomous driving. We feel that as people experience the supervised FSD at scale, the demand for our vehicles, like Elon said, would increase significantly. On the FSD adoption front, we've continued to see decent progress. However, note that total paid FSD customer base is still small, around 12% of our current fleet. We're working with regulators in places like China and EMEA to obtain approvals so that we can get FSD in those regions as well. Now, covering a little bit on the financial side, automotive revenues increased 29% sequentially in line with the growth in deliveries. While regulatory credits declined sequentially, we entered into new contracts and continued delivery on previously entered contracts. Our automotive margins, excluding credits, increased marginally from 15% to 15.4%, which was attributed to improvements in material cost and better fixed cost absorption due to higher volumes. The energy storage business continued to deliver with record deployments, gross profit, and margins. As discussed before, this business has a bigger impact from tariffs as measured by percentage of COGS, since currently all cells procured are from China, while we're still working on other alternatives. However, as the ramp of Mega Factory Shanghai is happening, this is helping us avoid tariffs because we are using this factory to supply the non-US demand. Like Elon said, grid scale storage, the only way we can get to electricity fastest is by using storage. The other thing to keep in mind is we are seeing headwinds in this business given the increase in competition and tariffs. The total tariff impacts for Q3 for both businesses was in excess of $400 million, generally split evenly between them. Services and other demonstrated a marked improvement sequentially. This was a function of improvements primarily in our insurance and service center businesses. Note that while small, our robotaxi costs are included within services and other, along with our other businesses like paid supercharging, used car, parts and merchandise sales, etc. Our operating expenses increased sequentially. The largest increase included in restructuring and other related to certain actions undertaken to reduce cost and improve efficiency through convergence of our AI chip design efforts. Additionally, we incurred legal expenses related to proceedings in certain legal cases, as well as incremental costs incurred in preparation for our shareholder meeting. Such costs are recorded within SG&A. Further, our employee-related spend is increasing, especially in R&D, as we have recently granted various performance-based equity awards to employees working on AI initiatives, and therefore such spend will continue to increase going forward. On other income, our other income decreased sequentially, primarily from mark-to-market adjustments on BTC holdings, which was a much smaller gain of $80 million in Q3 versus $284 million in Q2, with the rest of the movement attributable to FX movements in the quarter. Our free cash flow for the quarter was approximately $4 billion, which was yet another record. Our total cash and investments at the end of the quarter were over $41 billion. On the CapEx front, while we are expecting to be around $9 billion for the current year, we're projecting the numbers to increase substantially in 2026 as we prepare the company for the next phase of growth in terms of not just our existing businesses, but our bets around AI initiatives, including Optimus. In conclusion, note that bringing AI into real world is hard, but we have never shied away from doing what is hard. We are extremely excited about the future and are laying down the foundation, the benefits of which will be realized over years to come. I would like to end by thanking the Tesla team, our customers, our investors, and supporters for the continued belief in us.
Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Now let's go to investor questions. From say.com, the first question is, what are the latest robotaxi metrics, fleet size, cumulative miles, rides completed, intervention rates, and when will safety drivers be removed? What are the obstacles still preventing unsupervised FSD from being deployed to customer vehicles?
All right, Q&A.
I'll start off with that, and then Ashok can elaborate. But we are expecting to have no safety drivers in at least large parts of Austin by the end of this year. So within a few months, we expect to have no safety drivers at all, at least in parts of Austin. We're obviously being very cautious about the deployment. So our goal is to be actually paranoid about deployment, because obviously even one accident will be front page headline news worldwide. So it's better for us to take a cautious approach here. But we do expect to have no safety drivers in the car in Austin within a few months. I think that's perhaps the most important data point. And then we do expect to be operating Robotaxi in, I think, about 8 to 10 metro areas by the end of the year. It depends on various regulatory approvals. But you can actually, I think most of our regulatory applications are online. You can kind of see them because they're public information. But we expect to be operating in Nevada and Florida and Arizona by the end of the year. Ashok?
Yeah. We continue to operate our fleet in Austin without anyone in the driver's seat. And we have covered more than 250,000 miles with that. And then in the Bay Area, where we still have a person in the driver's seat, because of the regulations, we crossed more than 1 million miles. And we continue to see that the fleet, Robotaxi fleet, works really well. Customers are really happy, and there's no notable issues. On the customer side, customers have used FSD Supervised for a total of 6 billion miles as of yesterday. So that's like a big milestone. And overall, the safety continues to be very good. And as Elon mentioned, we are on track to remove the person from inside the car altogether, starting with Austin.
Great. The next question is, what is the demand and backlog for Megapack, Powerwall, solar, or energy storage systems? With the current AI boom, is Tesla planning to supply power to other hyperscalers?
Thanks. Demand for Megapack and Powerwall continues to be really strong into next year. We received very strong positive customer feedback on our Megablock product, which will begin shipping next year out of Houston. And we're seeing remarkable growth in the demand for AI and data center applications as hyperscalers and utilities have seen the versatility of the Megapack product to increase reliability and relieve grid constraints, as Elon was talking about. We've also seen a surge in residential solar demand in the US due to policy changes, which we expect to continue into the first half of 2026 as we introduce the new solar lease product. And we also began production of our Tesla residential solar panel in our Buffalo factory, and we will be shipping that to customers starting Q1. The panel has industry-leading aesthetics and shade performance and demonstrates our continued commitment to US manufacturing.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Unfortunately, the next question is related to future products. This is not the appropriate venue to cover that, so we're going to have to skip it. The question after that is, what are the present challenges in bringing Optimus to market, considering app control software, engineering hardware, training general mobility models, training task-specific models, training voice models, implementing manufacturing, and establishing supply chains?
Yeah, I mean, bringing Optimus to market is an incredibly difficult task, to be clear. It's not like some walk in the park. At some point, I mean, actually, technically, Optimus can walk in the park right now. We do have Optimus robots that walk around our offices at our engineering headquarters in Palo Alto, California, basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So any visitors that come by, you actually you can stop one of the Optimus robots and ask it to take you somewhere, and it'll literally take you to that meeting room or that location in the building. I don't want to downplay the difficulty of Optimus. It's an incredibly difficult thing, especially it's difficult to create a hand that is as dexterous and capable as the human hand, which is the human hand is an incredible thing. That the more you study the human hand, the more incredible you realize the human hand is, and why you need 4 fingers and a thumb, why the fingers have certain degrees of freedom, why the various muscles are of different strengths, the fingers are of different lengths, and it turns out actually that those are all there for a reason, and so making the hand and forearm, because most of the actuator, just like the human hand, the muscles that control your hand are actually primarily in your forearm. The Optimus hand and forearm is an incredibly difficult engineering challenge. I'd say it's more difficult than the rest from an electromechanical standpoint. The forearm and hand is more difficult than the entire rest of the robot. But really, in order to have a useful generalized robot, you do need an incredible hand, and then you need the real world AI, and you need to be able to scale up that production to have it be relevant, because it's not relevant if it's just a few hundred robots. But so you need to be able to make Optimus robots at volumes comparable to vehicles, if not significantly higher. So if you're trying to make 1 million or something per year, trying to make 1 million Optimus robots per year, that manufacturing challenge is immense, considering that the supply chain doesn't exist. So with cars, you've got an existing supply chain. With computers, you've got an existing supply chain. With a humanoid robot, there is no supply chain. So in order to manufacture that, Tesla actually has to be very vertically integrated and manufacture very deep into the supply chain, manufacture the parts internally, because there just is no supply chain. So this is the kind of thing where I'm like, if I put myself in the position of a startup trying to make a humanoid robot, I'm like, I don't know how to do it without an immense amount of manufacturing technology. So that's why I think like Tesla's in almost a unique, I think unique position when you consider manufacturing technology scaling, real world AI, and a truly dexterous hand. Those are generally the things that are missing when you read about other robots, that they just don't have those 3 things. So I think we can achieve all those things, those 3 things, with an immense amount of work, and that is the game plan. So my fundamental concern with regard to how much voting control I have in Tesla is, if I go ahead and build this enormous robot army, can I just be ousted at some point in the future? That's my biggest concern. That is really the only thing I'm trying to address with this. So it's called compensation, but it's not like I'm going to go spend the money. It's just, if we build this robot army, do I have at least a strong influence over that robot army? Not control, but a strong influence. That's what it comes down to in a nutshell. Like, I don't feel comfortable building that robot army if I don't have at least a strong influence.
Great, thank you. We've already covered robotaxi expansion. Unfortunately, the question after that is another future product question, so we're going to have to skip that. The next one, though, is, can you update us on the $16.5 billion Samsung chip deal in Taylor? Given the importance of semiconductors to autonomy in Tesla's AI-driven future, What gives you confidence Samsung can fulfill AI6 at Tesla's timelines and achieve relatively better yields and cost versus TSMC?
Okay, so I'm gonna give quite a long answer to this question because I have to unpack this question and then answer the unpacked version. So first of all, I have nothing but great things to say about Samsung. They're an amazing company, and Samsung, it is worth noting, does manufacture our AI4 computer and does a great job doing that. So now with the AI5, and here's I need to make a point of clarification relative to some comments I've made publicly before, which is we're actually going to focus both TSMC and Samsung initially on AI5. So the AI5 chip design by Tesla is, I think it's an amazing design. I have spent almost every weekend for the last few months with the chip design team working on AI5. And I don't hand out praise easily, but I have to say that I think the Tesla chip team is really designing an incredible chip here. This is, by some metrics, the AI5 chip will be 40 times better than the AI4 chip. Not 40%, 40 times. Because we have a detailed understanding of the entire software and hardware stack. So we're designing the hardware to address all of the pain points in software. So I don't think there really isn't anyone that's doing this, the entire stack, all the way through real world, calibrating against the real world where you've got cars and robots in real world. That, like, we know what the chip needs to do, and we know what, just as importantly, we know what the chip doesn't need to do. To sort of give you some examples here, with the AI5, we deleted the legacy GPU or the traditional GPU, which is it's in AI4, but AI5 does not have. We just deleted the legacy GPU because it basically is a GPU. So we also deleted the image signal processor, and there's like a long list of deletions that are very important. As a result of these deletions, we can actually fit AI5 in a half reticle, and with good margin for the traces from the memory to the trip, the Tesla trip accelerators, the ARM CPU cores, and the PCI X the PCI blocks. So this is a beautiful chip. I've poured so much life energy into this chip personally, and I'm confident this is going to be a winner, next level. So it makes sense to have both Samsung and TSMC focus on AI5. And so even like technically the Samsung fab has slightly more advanced equipment than the TSMC fab. These will both be made in the U.S. In one TSMC in Arizona, Samsung in Texas, but it's we're going to make, starting off, just to be confident of having our goal, explicit goal, is to have an oversupply of AI5 chips. Because if we have too many AI5 chips for the cars and robots, we can always put them in the data center. So we already use AI4 for training in our data center. So we use a combination of AI4 and Nvidia hardware. So we're not about to replace Nvidia, to be clear, but we do use both in combination, AI4 and Nvidia hardware. And the AI5 excess production we can always put in our data centers. Nvidia keeps improving. The challenge that they have is that they've got to satisfy a large range, a lot of requirements from a lot of customers. But Tesla only has to satisfy requirements from one customer. That's Tesla. That makes the design job radically easier, and means we can delete a lot of complexity from the chip. I can't emphasize how important this is. So like when you look at the various logic blocks in the chip, as you increase the number of logic blocks, you also increase the interconnections between the logic blocks. So you can think of it like just highways. Like how many highways do you need to connect the various parts of the chip? And especially if you're not sure how much data is going to go between each logic block on the chip, then you kind of end up having giant highways going all over the place. It becomes an almost impossibly difficult design problem, and NVIDIA's done an amazing job of dealing with almost an impossibly difficult set of requirements. But in our case, we're going for radical simplicity, and the net effect is that I think AI5 will be the best performance per watt, maybe by a factor of 2 or 3, and the best performance per dollar for AI, maybe by a factor of 10. So, that's, we'll have to, the proof's in the pudding. So obviously we need to actually get this chip made and made at scale. But that's what it looks like.
Great. Thank you, Elon. We've already covered unsupervised FSD. So the next question is, instead of trying to replace hardware 3 with hardware 4, why not give an equal incentive to trade in for a new vehicle?
Yeah, we've not completely given up on hardware 3. However, over the last year, we've offered the customers the option to transfer FSD to their new vehicle, which at times we've been running some promotions. If they got FSD, they can get better preferential rates. So we've been definitely taking care of this, but we do want to solve autonomy first, and then we'll come back with a way to take care of these customers. These customers are very important. They were the early adapters. For what it's worth, my daily commuter is a hardware 3 car, which I use FSD on a daily basis. So we will definitely take care of you guys.
Great. Thank you.
In addition, once the V14 release series is fully done, we are planning on working on a V14 Lite version for hardware 3, probably expected in Q2 next year.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashok. Alrighty. Our final question from Say is, how long until we see self-driving Tesla semi-trucks? And could you see this technology replacing trains?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with that in terms of the semi production plan and schedule. So the factory is going on schedule. We've completed the building and are installing the equipment now. We've got our fleet of validation trucks driving on the road. We'll have larger builds towards the end of this year, and then our first online builds in the first part of next year, ramping into the Q2 timing with real volume coming in the back half of the year. So that's going quite well, and that's the first step to obviously getting autonomous trucks on the road. In terms of trains, they're really great for long point-to-point deliveries. They're super efficient, but that last mile, the load unload, can be better served for shorter distances with autonomous semis, and that would be great. And so we do expect that to probably shift as we, really, as Elon said, change the way transportation is considered. And so we're looking forward to that timeline. And Ashok, I know you can take the full self-driving part.
Currently, the team is super focused on solving for passenger vehicle autonomy. That said, the same technology will extend quite easily to the semi-truck once we have a little bit of data from the semi-trucks.
Great. And now we will move over to analyst questions. The first question comes from Emmanuel at Wolf. Emmanuel, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. So, Elon, you talked about expanding production of vehicles as fast as possible now that you have confidence in the unsupervised autonomy. how should we think about that in the context of your existing capacity of 3 million units? Is that where you're hoping to get volume to? What sort of timeline are we talking about? And would this require, some level of boosting or incentivizing demand? Like, would this basically be prioritizing volume over near-term profitability, given the longer-term opportunity?
Well, our capacity isn't quite 3 million, but it will be 3 million at some point. Aspirationally, it could be 3 million within. We could probably hit an annualized rate of 3 million within 24 months, I think, maybe less than 24 months. Bearing in mind, there's an entire supply chain, like a vast supply chain that's got to also move in tandem with that. But we're gonna expand production as fast as we can, and as fast as our suppliers can sort of keep up with it. And then we're going to think about where do we build incremental factories beyond that. Like the single biggest expansion in production will be the Cybercab, which starts production in Q2 next year. That's really a vehicle that's optimized for full autonomy. It, in fact, does not have a steering wheel or pedals, and is really an engineering optimization on minimizing cost per mile, for fully considered cost per mile of operation. So that's, for our other vehicles, they still have a little bit of the horseless carriage thing going on, where obviously if you've got steering wheels and pedals and you're designing a car that people might want to go do fast acceleration and tight cornering, like high performance cars, then you're going to design a different car than one that is optimized for a comfortable ride, but doesn't expect to go past sort of 85 or 90 miles an hour, and it's just aiming for a gentle ride the whole time. That's what Cybercab is. Yeah, so it's. Do I think we'll sacrifice margins? I don't think so. I think the demand will be pretty nutty. Here's the killer app. Really, what it comes down to is, can you text while you're in the car? And if you tell someone, yes, the car is now so good, you can be on your phone and text the entire time while you're in the car. It's anyone who can buy the car will buy the car. End of story. That's what everybody wants to do. In fact, not everyone wants to. They do that, and that's why, in fact, the reason you've seen there's been an uptick in accidents, pretty much worldwide, is because people are texting and driving. Autopilot actually dramatically improves the safety here, because if somebody's looking down at their phone, they're not driving very well. So that's really the game changer, and we do see, at this point, I feel essentially 100% confident. I say not essentially, 100% confident that we can solve unsupervised full self-driving at a safety level much greater than human. So we've released 14.1. We've got a technology roadmap that's, I think, pretty amazing. We'll be adding reasoning to the car. Our world simulator for reinforcement learning is pretty incredible. When you see it, the Tesla reality simulator, you can't tell the difference between the video that's generated by the Tesla reality simulator and the actual video. It looks exactly the same. So that allows us to have a very powerful reinforcement learning loop to further improve the Tesla AI. We're going to be increasing the parameter count by an order of magnitude. That's not in 14.1. There are also a number of other improvements to the AI, just that are quite radical. So it's this car will feel like it is a living creature. That's how good the AI will get with the AI4 computer. This is before AI5. And then AI5, like I said, is by some metrics 40 times better. Let's just say safely, it's a 10x improvement. So it might almost be too much intelligence for a car. I do wonder, like, how much intelligence should you have in a car? It might get bored. Actually. And then one of the things I thought, like, well, if we've got all these cars that maybe are bored, well, while they're sort of, if they are bored, we could actually have a giant distributed inference fleet and say, like, well, if they're not actively driving, let's just have a giant distributed inference fleet. At some point, if you've got like tens of millions of cars in the fleet, or maybe at some point 100 million cars in the fleet, and let's say they had at that point, like, I don't know, a kilowatt of inference capability of, high performance inference capability. That's 100 gigawatts of inference distributed with power and cooling taken with cooling and power conversion taken care of. So that seems like a pretty significant asset.
Great. Thanks, Elon. The next question comes from Adam from Morgan Stanley. Adam, please feel free to unmute yourself. Adam, go ahead and ask your question. Seems like we might be having some audio issues with Adam, so we'll come back to you. The next question will then come from Dan from Barclays.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking the question. Elon, I know that Tesla is really focused on with Master Plan 4 bringing AI into the physical world. And I think we've seen over the past, this willingness for Tesla to engage and go into new markets, new TAMs. So when you think about the growth prospects, how do we define the areas that are really within Tesla's core competency versus where do you draw the line for markets or AI applications that are outside of Tesla's core competency?
Actually, I'm not sure what you mean by AI applications outside of Tesla's core competency. But I mean, we didn't have any of these core competencies when we started, So it's like we had zero core competencies, total competency of zero, actually. So I mean, you can think of Tesla as like, I don't know, a dozen startups in one company. And I've initiated every one of those startups. So it's we didn't used to make battery packs, so stationary battery packs, but now we do. We make them for the home, make them for utility scale with Powerwall Megapack. We created the supercharger network globally. No one else has created a global supercharger network. In fact, that North American supercharger network is so good at that basically every other manufacturer in North America has converted to our standard and uses the Tesla supercharger network. But if it was so easy, why don't they just do it? And the chip design team started that from scratch. The Tesla AI software team was started from scratch. I literally just say, hey, we're going to start this thing. I post it on Twitter, now X, and then join us if you'd like to build it. In fact, Ashok was, I believe, the first person I interviewed for the Tesla Autopilot team, which we now call the Tesla AI software team, because it is the AI software team. So it's core competencies created while you wait. Optimus at scale is the infinite money glitch. It's like it's difficult to express the magnitude of, like, if you've got something if Optimus, I think, could probably achieve 5x the productivity of a person per year because it can operate 24/7. it doesn't even need to charge. It can operate it tethered, so it's plugged in the whole time. That's why I call it like a future of sustainable abundance, where working will be optional. There's a limit to how much AI can do in terms of enhancing the productivity of humans, but there is not really a limit to AI that is embodied. That's why I call it the infinite money glitch.
I mean, one thing which I'll further add is, I mean, people forget, like, our first iteration of autopilot was 10 years back. So, Elon had started this way back in the day.
We've got the tweets to prove it.
Exactly. And then even on the Optimus side, right, as much as people think, okay, this is a new thing, I still remember, was it 4+ years back, we were in a finance meeting with Elon, and Elon said, hey, our car is a robot on wheels. And that's where we started developing. In fact, most of the engineering team, which is working on Optimus, has come from the vehicle side. And that's why, when we talk about manufacturing prowess, we have the wherewithal, because the same engineers who worked back in the day on drive units are working on actuators now. So that's where we can do, if there is any company which can do it at scale, that is going to be us.
But we also have actually added a lot of new engineers as well to the team. So there's actually a lot of the credit for the Optimus engineering is actually also new engineers, many of them that are just out of college, actually. So the Optimus engineering team is a very talented engineering team. I'd say like, wow, actually. So, the Optimus reviews at this point are there's the engineering review, and then there's the manufacturing review being done simultaneously with an iterative loop between engineering design and manufacturing. Because then we see we design something and we say like, oh man, that's really difficult to make. We need to change that design to make it easier to manufacture. So we've made radical improvements to the design of Optimus while increasing the functionality, but making it actually possible to manufacture. Like I'd say Optimus 2 is almost impossible to manufacture, frankly. But to Bob's point, we've gone from a person in a robot outfit to what people have seen with Optimus 2.5, where it's doing kung fu. It was like Optimus was at the Tron premiere doing kung fu, just out in the open, like with Jared Leto. Like there wasn't nobody was controlling it. It was just doing kung fu with Jared Leto, at the Tron premiere. You can see the videos online. Actually, the funny thing is, like, a lot of people walked past it thinking it was just a person. Even though with Optimus 2.5, you can see that it has a waist that's 3 inches wide, which is obviously not a human. But the movements were so human-like that a lot of people didn't realize they were looking at a robot. So, and what I'm saying is, like, Optimus 3 will be a giant improvement on that, and made at scale. But like I said, a very difficult thing. The Optimus sort of engineering and manufacturing reviews, and there's the Friday night meeting with Optimus, which sometimes goes till midnight, and then my Saturday meeting is the Saturday afternoons with the AI 5 chip design team. So those two things are crucial to the future of the company.
Great. And Dan, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just as a related, maybe you could just talk about to what extent are the AI efforts at Tesla and xAI complementary, or are they just different forms of AI? Maybe you could just help distinguish for the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, there are different forms of AI. So the the XAI sort of Grok is like a giant model that you could not possibly squeeze Grok onto a car. That's for sure. It is a giant beast of a model. It's with Grok, it's trying to solve for artificial general intelligence with a massive amount of AI training compute and inference compute. So, for example, for Grok 5 will actually only run effectively on a GB300. That's how much of a beast that Grok 5 is. So, whereas Tesla's, models are, I don't know, maybe about less than 10% the size, maybe closer to 5% the size of Grok. So, yeah, they're really coming at the problem from very different angles. XAI and Grok are they're competing with Google Gemini and OpenAI ChatGPT and that kind of thing. So, and some of it's complementary. I mean, for example, for Grok Voice, being able to interact with Grok in the car is cool. Grok for Optimus voice recognition and voice generation is Grok, so that's helpful there. But they are coming at it from kind of opposite ends of the spectrum.
Alrighty. Adam, let's give it another try. When you're ready, please unmute yourself for the next question. Alrighty, unfortunately, still having audio issues. So we're going to move on to Walt from Lightshed. Walt, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Just getting back to Austin, if you can remove the safety driver at year end, is the limitation in the Bay Area just regulatory, or is it kind of the market by market learning process? And I guess similarly in the 8 to 10 markets that you mentioned to get added, is the decision there to put a safety attendant in the passenger seat or the safety driver in? Is that like your step-by-step process to opening up a market, or is it really just the regulation in the individual market?
Well, I think even if the regulators weren't making us do it, we'd still do that as the sort of right sort of cautious approach to a new market. So just to make sure that we're being paranoid about safety, I think it makes sense to have a sort of either safety driver or safety occupant in the car when we first go to new markets to confirm that there's not something we're missing. Because all it takes is like 1 in 10,000 trips to go wrong, and you've got an issue. So it's just to make sure, like, is there some peculiarity about a city, like a very difficult intersection, or I don't know, something that's an unexpected challenge in a city for that 1 in 10,000 situation. So I think we probably could just let it loose in these cities, but we don't want to take a chance. And like, what we're talking about here is maybe 3 months of safety driver in a new metro to confirm that it's good, and then we take the safety driver out, that kind of thing.
Okay, and then on FSD 14, it has a different feel than 13, and it's also, I think, a little different than what it feels like in Austin. Is it basically different development path that you're doing in terms of the robotaxi stuff versus what you're dropping to the early adopters? And when you push these new builds, is it that you're looking for notable improvements in intervention rates, or is that largely solved and it's more about adding the functionality like the parking, the drive modes, or just the overall comfort?
No, the first priority when we release a major new software architecture for Autopilot is safety. So it starts off with safety, obviously safety prioritized, and then we solve comfort thereafter, which is why I don't recommend people take the initial version. Like that's why I say, like, most people should wait until 14.2 before they actually download version 14. because by 14.2 we will have addressed many of the comfort issues. The priority is very much safety first, and then thereafter the comfort issues. That's why most people, I'm like, it'll be a little like it'll be safe but jerky, and we just need time to kind of smooth the rough edges and solve for comfort in addition to safety with a major news autopilot architecture change. But it really is. I mean, I know what the roadmap is for the Tesla real world AI and at a very granular detail. Obviously, Ashok is leading that. And I mean, I spent a lot of time with the team going, in like excruciating detail here on what we're doing to improve the real world AI. Like I said, this car is going to feel like it is a living creature, and that's with AI 4 before even AI 5.
Yeah, the roadmap is super exhilarating. Like it's like so like waiting so much like release all the stuff we are working on in terms of like what we ship to customers versus robotaxi. It's mostly the same. Obviously, customers have some more features like they can choose the car wants to park in a spot or drive or something like that, which is not super relevant for robotaxi. But there's only like a few minor changes like those ones. But the majority of the algorithms and architecture, everything is the same between those two platforms.
Yeah, but and as I mentioned earlier, like we'll be adding reasoning to I don't know, Ashok, is that like reasoning in like 14.3, maybe 14.4, something like that?
Yeah, 3 or 4 by end of this year for sure.
Yeah. So with reasoning, it's literally going to think about which parking spot to pick at the. So it's going to say this is the entrance, but actually probably there's not a parking spot right at the entrance. If it's a full, if the parking lot is fairly full, the probability of an open parking spot right at the entrance is very low. But actually, what it'll simply do is drop you off at the entrance of the store and then go find a parking spot. But it's going to get very smart about figuring out a parking spot. It's going to it's going to spot empty spots much better than human. It's got 360-degree vision, and it's going to like I said, just it's going to use reasoning to solve things.
And putting that all inside the computer that has AI4 is the actual challenge. That's what the team is working on. Because obviously you can do reasoning on the server that takes forever, but then in car you need to make real-time decisions. So putting all that into the computer that's in the car, that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's why I say I have a pretty good understanding of like AI, the sort of the giant model level with Grok and with Tesla, and like I'm confident in saying that Tesla has the Tesla AI has the highest intelligence density. When you look at the intelligence per gigabyte, I think like Tesla AI is probably an order of magnitude better than anyone else. And it doesn't have any choice because that AI has got to fit in the AI4 computer. But the discipline of having that level of AI intelligence density will pay great dividends when you go to something that has an order of magnitude more capability like AI5. Now you have that same intelligence density, but you've got 10 times more capability in the computer.
Great. The next question will come from Colin at Oppenheimer. Colin, please unmute yourself when you're ready. Colin, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you bringing up the challenges of hand dexterity in humanoids, along with the complexity of the supply chain and the vertical integration you guys are pursuing. I'm just trying to harmonize the timeline for the start of production, next year with the current state of the supply chain and what sounds like a fair amount of work remaining on the dexterity before you can really freeze the hardware design and start to scale up production.
Well, the hardware design will not actually be frozen even through start of production. There'll be continued iteration because a bunch of the things that you discover are very difficult to make. You only find that pretty late in the game. So we'll be doing rolling changes for the Optimus design even after start of production. But I do think that the new hand is an incredible piece of engineering. And, that's, well, like I said, we'll have a production intent prototype ready to show off in, Q1, probably February or March. And then we're going to be building a, million unit Optimus production line, hopefully with a production start towards the end of next year. But that production ramp will take a while to get to annualized rate of 1 million, because it's going to move as fast as the slowest, dumbest, least lucky thing out of 10,000 unique items. But it will get to 1 million units, and then ultimately, we'll do Optimus 4. That'll be 10 million units. Optimus 5 maybe 50 to 100 million units. I mean, it's really pretty nutty.
Alrighty. That is unfortunately all the time we have for Q&A today. Before we conclude, though, Vaibhav has some closing remarks.
Thanks, Travis. I want to take the time to talk about an extremely important vote, which is being held on November 6th. The meeting will shape the future of Tesla, and we are asking you, as our shareholders, to support Elon's leadership through the 2 compensation proposals and the re-election of Ira, Kathleen, and Joe to the board. Note that it is a team sport, and here at Tesla, the board is an integral part of the winning team. Shareholders are at the center of everything we do at Tesla, and a special committee has laid out a compensation package. Like Elon said, we don't even want to call it a compensation package.
Yeah, it's not. The point is that I just like there needs to be enough voting control to give a strong influence, but not so much that I can't be fired if I go insane. But and I think that sort of number is in the mid-20s approximately. As a company that has already gone public, we've investigated every possible way to how do you achieve increased voting control without is there some way to have like a super voting stock? But there really isn't. There is no way to have a super voting stock after you've gone public. But for example, Google, Meta, many other companies have this, but they had it before they went public, and so it sort of gets, I guess, grandfathered in. Tesla does not have that, so it's just like I said, I just don't feel comfortable building a robot army here and then being ousted because of some asinine recommendations from ISS and Glass Lewis, who have no friggin' clue. I mean, those guys are corporate terrorists. And the problem, so let me explain the core problem here is that so many of the index funds, the passive funds, vote along the lines of whatever Glass Lewis and ISS recommend. Now, they've made many terrible recommendations in the past that, if those recommendations had been followed, would have been extremely destructive to the future of the company. But if you've got passive funds that essentially defer responsibility for the vote to Glass Lewis and ISS, then you can have extremely disastrous consequences for a publicly traded company if too much of the publicly traded company is controlled by index funds. It's de facto controlled by Glass Lewis and ISS. This is a fundamental problem for corporate governance because they're not voting along the lines that are actually good for shareholders. That's the big issue. I mean, that's what it comes down to. ISS, Glass Lewis, corporate terrorism.
Yeah, and I would say, the special committee did an amazing job in constructing this plan for the benefit of the shareholders. There's nothing which gets passed on till the time shareholders make substantial returns. So that's why, in the end, I would urge you to not only vote on the plan, but also vote on all the 3 directors because of their exceptional knowledge and experience. And literally, we at Tesla work with these directors day in, day out. I mean, there is not even a single day that one of the directors I haven't spoken to or one of my colleague hasn't spoken to. And even the directors out here are not just reading out of PowerPoint presentations. They're actually working with us day in, day out. So again, I just urge you guys as shareholders to vote along the board's recommendation. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you, Vaibhav. We appreciate everyone's questions today. We look forward to talking to you next quarter. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Still awake, Matt?
I think I yawned like 5 times.
You yawn pretty freaking big.
Yeah, that was a lot of yawning.
Oh my God, this was freaking ridiculous.
What do you think? What are your raw thoughts? There's a couple things to get into, but what did you take away from that?
I mean, look, I think they should have taken the mic away from him at certain points, especially with the corporate terrorist part. I do agree with him on some of the things that he said. You know that I've had this stance with index funds that I don't believe BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard should be allowed to vote those shares because they're just a custodian. I mean, every dollar that I have in an S&P fund, technically that's my money. So for every 100 grand in an S&P fund, if Tesla's 2% of that, why is Vanguard or BlackRock able to vote those shares when it's not technically their money because somebody could just move the money out? So he has a point there, but this is not the forum for that. He needed to get the street excited and the shareholders excited about FSD and Optimus, and he didn't do it. And with where margins are going and with their profitability and with credits coming off, I just think he needed to really go down the hole about Optimus. And he tried to, but he did it in a weird way. Almost like they're not going to be able to have enough production. Maybe he doesn't want to build out a full army of robots. It's like, what are you saying? Like, this is your freaking future, your company, and you're trying to tie it to your comp package. It's just, I don't know.
What did you think about the sales pitch at the end about voting in favor?
I don't think he even needed to say anything. What, people Tesla shareholders aren't going to vote for this?
Yeah, it'd be hard to imagine that.
I just don't think it's something that needed to be said. I think he needed to focus on the future and talk about Optimus and talk about FSD. I'm not an FSD fan, but they needed to talk about something because I got to tell you, I think Q4 car sales are not going to be good comparatively because you're not going to have the regulatory credits.
Wait, but you don't think he pumped Optimus enough? I mean, he talked about the dexterity of the hand and how challenging it would be.
He said that before. He hasn't said what their scale on it's going to be, how many they're going to sell next year, what the backlog is. He doesn't have to say companies, but he can say, listen, every big manufacturer or every big company that has warehouses has already contacted us. They can't wait for it. We're planning on getting to 1 million robots by this year. Not this year, but you know what I mean when I say this year, 2029, 2030. We're planning on ramping to get production to this level, and every robot's accounted for that we produce. Like, he's given so much stuff about FSD that has not come true. At least provide us with a roadmap on Optimus.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird that he didn't just say that we have major warehousing companies, logistic companies reaching out to us, which I would imagine, like, to not lie about that, all you have to do is have a conversation with any one of these companies, and they're all going to pick up if Elon Musk wants to have a conversation, and just have a simple, hey, are you guys interested in robots? If they say yes, boom, you're allowed to say what you just. They don't have to say, oh, we're definitely buying. They're just like, no, we'd be interested when you guys have the robots ready. And then Elon can go on the earnings call and say, dude, I just talked to 17 different companies that employ 3 million people in Brazil. They all want robots. And that I think really does get the streets like, well, some of the parts, we put the valuation from the robots here, assume these operating margins, and then boom, you might get some upgrades. But he talked about the hand As like, no one gives a shit about the hand. No one cares about the hand. No one cares. No one cares. And so I agree with you. Like, there really wasn't a pump on the idea of the robot at all.
And then how about don't go down the road of working is going to be optional? Like, come on.
Okay, so this stuff. So he tweeted this yesterday that no one will need a job because AI will replace everything and it will be optional.
Don't go down that rabbit hole right now. You're just going to freak people out.
No, I agree with you. It is going to freak people out. It's not, you're not relating to the common person by saying your job's going to go away. And then C, it's like, why are you saying that on earnings call? That all jobs are going to be gone?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with earnings. Just talk about what these robots can do, when you're going to get them to market, and how everyone's accounted for.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Someone says, what do you mean no one cares about the hand? I mean, no one cares about the hand. Like, Wall Street doesn't give a shit about the hand. They care about orders. They care about purchase orders.
Right. And look, dexterity in a hand is very important to do tasks of a carpenter or electrician. You can have, I mean, I guess a C-clamp style is not necessarily the right thing, but you could have like a U-style hand in the beginning that can just clamp something to move it around for a factory. You don't need a perfect dexterity hand with 5 fingers off the bat for the remedial orders.
My point is, like, I don't think the millions of shareholders that buy Tesla care about the dexterity of the hand. They just care that it works and you can ship the freaking robot.
And people want them.
Yeah. And so again, because it's not ready for prime time yet, to your point, you have to give people the illusion, just like he's been doing for FSD for 10 years, that it's going to eventually happen. And I don't think I got that today. I got more conversations about the dexterity of the hand that I really don't think most people care about.
Yeah, just give us a 5-year roadmap. He's allowed to be wrong. Give us a 5-year roadmap on it. I mean, obviously he's been wrong on FSD.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that. I mean, look, unsupervised is not here yet, but he did say the litmus test for us is that if you can text in the car, then everyone will buy the car. What do you think about that?
Yeah, good luck with that.
I actually think he's right about this. You're telling me you wouldn't buy a Tesla if you can text and not have to worry about driving or get work done on your laptop or something?
In order for me to go buy a Tesla, which will happen at some point, I have to be able to sleep, work on a laptop. It can't be that every 30 seconds I have to look up. So confident that you can text while you're in the driver's seat. I mean, that's not necessarily saying that it's 100% FSD 100% of the time. So if he had made that clear that you could do work on a laptop or take a nap, I think that would have been a much different statement. Maybe that's what he meant to say.
No, I think that's the meta. I think texting in the car is a metaphor for you can do whatever the hell you want. The car will function.
I think that if they do that and that gets passed and you get through the regulatory hurdles, I think it becomes the #1 selling car in the country.
Okay, so then there you go. That's like one of the bright parts of this call.
And you know that I've said that from the beginning. But to me, that's the barrier to entry.
Yeah. And so I think that was more optimistic for me than the conversation about Optimus, because Optimus conversation got very technical about the hand, and I think it put people to sleep. But when he said, we are confident that you will be able to text in the car and not worry. I mean, look, it's still going to be an expensive car, but it's going to get a lot more people to say, well, I can justify it by doing work in the car and et cetera, et cetera.
I just wish that he was a little bit more clear on what you can do, not just texting. Because look, texting is 20 seconds for a text, like I would have rather him say, listen, you can take a nap. Like, you're good. Full self-driving will be here, and we're going to roll it out to this place, this place, this place. And this is the 5-year roadmap of how we're going to get it in the 30 largest cities and metropolitan areas in the country. But they're not giving us that type of detail.
What did you think about this whole, we're going to replace Nvidia chips in a certain part of the supply chain with our partnership with Samsung? Kind of pseudo saying Dojo's back. I was kind of confused the whole time.
I mean, he kind of retraced on that a little bit when he started talking about how they can utilize both in the data centers. And if they have extra, they'll just throw them in the data centers, but they're still going to need the NVIDIA chips. And
Yeah.
NVIDIA has a lot of different points that they need to hit with the chips because all different customers, where Tesla only needs to worry about one customer. Yeah, it's the same thing as Amazon and Alphabet. They're building their own TPUs. I mean, it's nothing new.
I was just kind of confused at that moment because I didn't know exactly what he was trying to say. I think he was trying to stress the focus of the partnership with Samsung. And it's not like he was trying to, talk bad about NVIDIA. He was just trying to say that their general purpose GPU cannot solve the specific FSD workload that they're working on, which is why they signed that $16 billion deal.
The NVIDIA GPUs are for training. They're not necessarily for the specific workloads that he's going to need it for. So, yeah, fine.
It's almost like he said we're building our own custom ASIC. That's kind of what I got from it, which is...
I don't know. I mean, what's it doing? You have the live stuff open. What's it doing right now?
424.
Okay.
It's down 3%. Look, this was not a bearish quarter in my opinion, because this is, I think, what a lot of people expected. Yeah, they had a bit of an EPS miss, but like outside of that, like, all right, Tesla's back where it was last Tuesday. Like,
Did they give guidance for next year?
No.
I'm sorry, not next year, next quarter.
I don't think so. I don't think they ever give guidance for the next quarter like that. So no, we didn't get any guidance. But look, cash flow was better than expected. EPS was worse. Revenue was okay. I mean, your point about Q4 sucking because they're not going to have the regulatory credit, I do think shouldn't be understated. Like, even if
I could be wrong, energy could absolutely outperform and offset the potential for the automotive revenue declining, but it's a fact that the regulatory credits for auto ended in September.
Yeah, and look, if rates come down, that'll be a tailwind, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get that many people to buy the way they got them to buy in Q3, because the incentive on that $7,500 was like a really big reason people bought. Maybe the new cheaper models potentially could help as well, but we're gonna have to see. Engineering adjacent, thank you for the gifted 5 memberships. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for the memberships as well. Where do you think the stock goes, Steve, towards the end of the year? I mean, do you think tomorrow this thing tanks, or it's enough that he said enough?
I think if it didn't tank tonight, I think it's going to kind of go sideways from here on out for the rest of the year. I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 500 or 350. I don't think it's going past either one of those sides. I just think it's going to bounce around right now.
I think that's a win too. This thing was stuck at 300.
100%. This could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. And the call, I think, had less. Okay, the other part that was annoying about the call is they didn't answer any of the questions that mattered from retail investors.
No.
Right? Like they're like, oh, first of all, why would you say publicly to millions of investors, we are going to skip over the next question because it's about future products? You don't have to say that. Just don't say anything. Just move on to the next question. Like, it was so weird. Like, okay, you guys get to answer what this is your call. You're not legally obliged to answer any question. There's a lot of companies that don't take any questions at all from shareholders, institutions. So the fact that they announced, hey, this is a future product update, we're not going to answer this, is just like a slap in the face versus just move on. Don't even acknowledge it. So I thought that was just weird and a bit cringe. And I don't know why they're even acting like that, especially because the shareholder meeting is coming up so soon, right? It's like not previewing it doesn't make sense. Yeah, the skips were all important questions. If you look at, say, technologies, all the skips were the shit that people actually cared about.
Here's the problem. If Q4 comes in and it's not better than Q3 when you're in the holiday season, that's going to be a problem for Tesla. Like, they need Q4 to be larger revenue.
What was Tesla Q4 2024?
It was less than Q3.
It was 495,000 cars and 11 gigawatts of energy. So they've got to beat.
And look what happened. And look what happened before the whole tariff war. Look at a 1-year chart of Tesla. Look what happened after they reported. through the end of January, beginning of February. It fell off a cliff.
Oh yeah, that was 480 down to freaking 270. Yeah.
And that's before all the tariff stuff. It's because one of the reasons Q4 was weaker than expected. It was weaker than Q3. You didn't get the holiday bump in sales. I mean, and when I say total revenue, I'm talking about the auto revenue. Energy helped the total revenue just squeak out a couple $100 million more on total, but vehicle revenue declined quarter over quarter in Q4 2024.
Yeah.
And I'm worried you're going to see that again.
Yeah, that is something definitely to watch out for Q4. Maybe rate cuts can somewhat help.
I love how people say that we don't understand Tesla. Love it. It's like, guys, they do $7 billion in free cash flow. Like, if they extrapolate that out based on this quarter, okay, they'll do 16 billion over the next 12 months. That's a speckle for a company that's valued at $1.3 trillion. Like, they have to get FSD and Optimus to market immediately.
I also think it's silly because everyone knows that Tesla's more than a car company, and everyone knows that Tesla trades at an incredible premium against the market, against things like Nvidia, even though they're not growing. And everyone's willing to say that Tesla deserves, because I think at least you and I believe in Elon, we believe in his vision, we believe that eventually believe in the future, believe that, you know, so like no one's saying that the stock deserves to go to $200, but it's not a good quarter in terms of the actual numbers. And the question then becomes, if this was not a good quarter, what happens to Q4? And
I mean, we forgot about the diner. Maybe they can sell burgers.
Maybe the burgers help out.
I mean, if they open one near me, I'll go there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no point to be ideological about it. I mean, Tesla's a phenomenal company. Elon's a phenomenal leader, but like at the end of the day, they're not in the position of growth that they were in 2019. And that's okay, but you have to call a spade and acknowledge it.
Yeah, remember.
The fact that they're holding a $1.5 trillion market cap and not growing, I mean, like, people need to be grateful for where the stock trades at.
And look, everybody needs to remember, Elon has done something nobody else would have been able to do. And I don't make definitive statements. Nobody else could have went up against the auto companies and won. He did. Okay. And he did with an electric vehicle. So got to give him a ton of credit. The guy's accomplished more than almost anybody ever. And it's not a knock on Tesla. It's just for the future of Tesla to be bright, what all the shareholders want it to be. You need to see a 5-year plan on Optimus, and they need to deliver on it. And they need to deliver FSD to market in the major metropolitan areas. If they don't do that, it's going to be difficult for them to get to 2, 5, and 10 trillion market cap. And I don't think there's anything unreasonable with that statement.
If anyone thinks what you said is unreasonable, I don't know. I think they're in a fairy tale around this company. Like, this is a $1.5 trillion company that's not growing, that's trading at 200 times free cash flow because of how much people love and believe in the vision. Like, the fact that people are willing to give it that premium on no growth just means that you kind of sit back and let the story play out, which is, I think, how most Tesla investors think of it. But you also have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to touch it. It's just going to sit in that corner in the next 10 years. Hopefully it's bigger. But in the short term, there are some headwinds that it's dealing with.
Yeah, it would have been nice also if along the way Tesla was a holding company of SpaceX and of XAI and Neuralink, or at least was a seeding capital or seed investor in the capital rounds. Like, the fact that Tesla doesn't have that on the balance sheet is weird.
That's always been weird. I don't understand why Tesla's not a holding company for a bunch of Elon's other businesses. I really don't get it. I genuinely think it's because he never had full control over Tesla, so he never wanted, if he got kicked off, some random schmuck to be able to get ownership over SpaceX, right?
Could you imagine if it was a holding company for those companies? It would be more talked about than Berkshire as a holding company at that point.
Dude, if Tesla owned, let's call it 10% of each of his startups.
I'd say a little
SpaceX,
more for what I just said to happen, but yes, I'm with you.
20% of
Yeah,
SpaceX.
20-25% of SpaceX, Boring, Neuralink, and freaking XAI.
Bro, Google owns more SpaceX than Tesla.
Which is crazy.
That is kind of crazy. Like, that is actually crazy.
Come on.
That is wild.
Look, I want Tesla to do well. I want everybody to do well on this. And I want Tesla to succeed because if Tesla succeeds, that means the US succeeds and Americans succeed. I just think that they need to bring these two main drivers of future revenue to market quicker. It doesn't seem like there is a real plan to get nationwide FSD out there anytime soon.
Look, I don't want to agree with that, but the reason I do agree is because these new cheaper models, I thought the goal was get them super cheap, get people hooked onto FSD and scale. That's not, dude, most people that buy a Tesla don't even know it can drive itself. Like there's a
$22,000 to $24,000 models, and then they were going to pay a couple $100 a month for FSD. That's what I thought the idea was.
Like if the car costs you $35,000 to make and you sell it for $25,000 and you lose $10,000 on the car, but FSD is whatever, a couple $100 a month or 8,000, 10,000 full time over the lifetime of the services that you can provide, you will make up that money at scale. And you will, and then when someone flips on their car to be a robotaxi, then it really makes up that money as billions and billions of miles are driven across the world in the robotaxi network. But you need tens of millions of cars. Uber has that because, you know, Uber has millions and millions of drivers on the network. Tesla doesn't have that yet. And I think that is the vision for robots. Also, this whole idea that, you know, there's 7 million Teslas on the road. Not everyone's going to flip the on button on the robotaxi. Nope. Not everyone's going to do that. Like, I kind of want to keep my car to myself. I don't want some random.
If I go buy a Tesla, nobody's getting in it that I don't know. Period.
There's people dismiss that point, but there's a lot of people that like the privacy of owning their
own car.
There's a lot
of people that are not going to let their personal vehicle go out and drive people around.
Yes. So then you need as many vehicles as possible on the road, which means you need the car to get cheap enough for people to buy it. And these new models are not cheap. And I was very surprised 2 weeks ago when I saw the prices for that. I was just like, how is this supposed to give us an uptick in volume at all?
I don't know.
Also, personal vehicles have a exclusion for livery on insurance. Yeah, well, the insurance debate. Don't get Steve started on the insurance debate. That is.
Oh, I'll go down the rabbit hole if you want for 2 minutes.
That's a whole nother question on insurance.
Yeah, we look the very short answer.
Hold on. People saying get Farzad in here to debate Steve. No, Steve is not. Some of the Tesla investors need to stop being so unbelievably emotional. You're acting like Steve is saying the stock deserves to go to $50. Like, there's no debate that needs to be had. What are we talking about? Debate. You're acting like Steve hasn't analyzed this company for the past 5 years. You think he doesn't understand the way this operates? He might have a different perspective than Farzad, but this is not some Tesla bull, Tesla bear. Like, people try to make it so competitive on this stock, and it's like, can't we just talk about the numbers and what's happening?
You know what's crazy? You guys could freaking go on X and freaking blow up Elon and tag me in it, and I'll say the same shit to Elon directly. Like, I'm not changing my viewpoint. It's an amazing company, and no other car company has been able to do what it's done. And no other person has been able to achieve what Elon's achieved. But in order for the market cap to continue to grow, you need these future products to start hitting the market. Like, I don't know why people can't see that. The car market's not going to get any easier for them.
Also, Farzad thinks Uber is going to zero. So you have vastly different perspectives on this. I don't think Uber is going to zero, and neither does Steve. Farzad he's been on my channel multiple times, and he said Uber is going to zero. So when you're talking about having a debate, you have two people with totally different perspectives that don't necessarily need to debate because there's not a debate about this. It's just a different angle.
I'm not bearish Tesla. Like, I'm neutral Tesla. I don't know why Like the whole definition of neutral Tesla is it goes sideways. Like that's neutral. Like I'm not saying it's going down. Like I don't know why people can't understand this.
Yeah. Also, if you can't objectively analyze your investment, I mean, like, what's the point of being an investor at that point? Like, I've criticized Palantir, I've criticized Hood. Like, it's like you're supposed to be able to critique your investments if they have not the best quarter, not the best. I mean, dude, if Robinhood was growing negative 30% year over year, they would not be trading at these levels. If Palantir was growing at negative 30%, Tesla's growing at negative 30% and is holding the types of multiples they're holding. That is a blessing for this stock. And that's just facts. That's not political. That's not disrespectful. That's not biased. That is just a fact. For a stock to be trading at these multiples, showing zero growth and going into a Q4 where they don't have a tailwind of an EV regulatory credit, like objectively, it is pretty damn amazing that it's trading at these levels. That's okay to understand.
And keep in mind, and Amit will tell you if I'm lying or not. I've said in the past multiple times, when Optimus is available for public, I'm buying one. When a Tesla can drive me around and I can go to sleep, I'm buying one. Have I not said that multiple times? Like, I'm even saying I'm going to buy the product. Like, I want these products to come out.
Yeah, look, I am invested in 2 private robot companies. I really believe in the humanoid robotic thesis. I've been talking about it for a year. And so does Steve.
Robotics is the future.
It's just not here yet. That's all. It's just not here yet. And that's okay. But like that's just being honest. No one's saying we don't believe in it. Well, in fact, we're trying to figure out how Elon could have framed the message around Optimus to get people more excited without lying about it. And that's not what we heard from him, which is
no, we heard him more concerned about his comp package, which is not necessarily what you want to hear a CEO say. Because he's almost holding it hostage at that point. Because if he doesn't get the comp package, then what's his incentive? Like, is he going to leave? It's just, I don't know. He could have communicated a lot better.
I do think he was afraid that I think he knows he'll definitely get the votes, but I do think he's afraid there is an off chance he doesn't. And if he doesn't, what does he do? Right? Because then he's just like, he's not leaving, in my opinion, but you would probably be pretty. I mean, just bought $1 billion worth of Tesla stock. He doesn't want to leave, right? But
$1 billion for him is not necessarily a huge amount of money.
But I don't know if he actually spent $1 billion or if he borrowed against something else to buy. So it's he's got to retain his ownership.
And then look, if he doesn't get the comp package and he stays, does he slow roll Optimus then? Because he's afraid of.
Yeah, I think his incentives would be severely dampened if he doesn't get the compensation package. Which is why he needs the comp package. Again, I know people have different perspectives, but if he's going to get $1 trillion and you're going to get a 10x and maybe you put 200 grand into Tesla, you will get 2 million. Okay, you won't have $1 trillion, but you will have 2 million. You will still
Bring up what Rob said. I don't want to build a robot army if I don't have control. So comp package or no Optimus. Like he said that on the call. We all heard it.
He did spend a decent amount of time talking about the robot army. That is correct.
So I'm neutral. I want Tesla to succeed. I want these products to come out. I'm a buyer of the products when they do come out. I just wish that we got a 5-year timeline on Optimus, and I wish that we got more clarity around when they think that they're going to be in at least the 10 largest metropolitan areas in the U.S. for FSD.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So Sunil says no one is talking about how crazy good V14 is. So first of all, I'm going to try V14 because Elon said anyone can download it. So I'm going to go to my Tesla and see if I can download it. But number 2, I think that's the problem. No one's talking about it because there's not distribution for V14. First of all, it's not unsupervised, which would really ramp up the distribution, as Elon said. Number 2, they don't have enough volume of vehicles because the cars are still relatively expensive. And the cheaper models aren't making it less expensive. So you're not getting people every day downloading FSD. So until they figure out the distribution aspect, either through robotaxi and expansions, as Steve was saying, or straight up, Elon comes out and says, unsupervised is here. You can text in the car. Here's the pre-order to buy the car. Until that moment happens, who cares how good V14 is? Like it's not going to make a tangible difference on the growth of the company until unsupervised happens, and unsupervised is the precursor for distribution of robotaxi across the world. And by the way, there's still a regulatory hurdle for that, right? Like the idea that you can just text in your car and have, like, that still has to be approved by the government that people in this vehicle using this software are allowed to not have their eyes on the road. Because right now it is a crime. If you, I got pulled over like a couple months ago because I was checking my phone. And it was taking it for like 2 seconds, but the cop happened to be there and I was like, all right, I got pulled over, right? Like, still a crime.
You also need insurance carriers to put an exclusion on the policy to allow that. Because if they don't, and you are using FSD and you get into an accident, and let's just say you get into an accident and it's not your fault because somebody rear-ends you, but your policy doesn't allow you to use FSD, you're likely to be at fault. So yeah. Keep in mind that you still need the insurance companies to sign on to this.
And that's
maybe. So what I was going to say to follow up with that is on the insurance side, and I actually do know what I'm talking about on the insurance side. So if the major companies don't allow it, that'll create a void for somebody to step in and take a winner take most approach. So there will be an insurance company that allows it. Okay. So don't get me wrong. At some point there will, because if State Farm and Liberty and all the big ones don't, you'll see somebody else because they'll be able to make money on it. You'll still have to switch your insurance and make sure that your insurance policy allows it. Otherwise, you're really not going to be able to use it, because if something goes wrong, you're not going to be covered. So keep that in mind also.
Yeah, and as you're saying, because there will be a gap in the market, it will be solved. It's just that is also down the line. That's not happening tomorrow. And if that doesn't happen anytime soon, like why should the stock have some greater premium baked into it? I don't know. And look, dude, it is a real thing. Like I thankfully just got a ticket and had to pay $50. I didn't get any points on my license or anything, but like what Elon was saying was a big deal. A lot of people want to check their phone when they're driving, especially people that have to work or get to send a message or something. And unfortunately, if you happen to be checking it, even if you're at a red light and a cop is nearby, you get pulled over. It's like if they find you, and they're looking for, in New Jersey in particular, they have various laws about how serious it is to not check your phone when you're driving. And the cops don't mess around with that. So that's why I agree with Elon. It would be a massive motivator for people to buy a Tesla if they could have the software that requires them to not worry about it. But it feels like that's not happening next year. And if it does, that's super cool.
A lot of people spend 40 minutes to an hour driving each way to work. If you have FSD, that's a big motivator to get a Tesla. You can get an extra hour's sleep in the morning. You can get work done on the way home. I mean, that would be a motivator for me to go buy a Tesla.
I think it would be motivators for a lot of people. No, there's no other passengers in the car. It was just me. It was just driving. I was only going to the grocery store, bro. This was like back in May. And, the cop just happened to be there. But I usually, I mean, I've gotten pulled over maybe one other time in my life. So he let me go because I have a pretty good record. But it is annoying, right? Because, like, you want to be able to just navigate it without dealing with it. He also then was going to give me another ticket because he was like, you need to have a license plate on the front of your Tesla. I was like, what? Like, they don't even send us two. He's like, you have to, like, so I've never put a license plate on the front of my Tesla.
You have to have two license plates in New York. Not every state needs them.
Apparently on Teslas you don't, but in New Jersey you do. But I've never been pulled over because.
So then why is Tesla excluded?
I don't know.
Ask Grok if Tesla's excluded from New Jersey driving laws.
It's probably not, but like I've never been pulled over ever because I don't have. But he said it that day, and I was like, seriously, do I actually need to? But the point is, if we could have FSD that's unsupervised, it changes everything. It sends the stock to the moon because I think it changes so much of the dynamics of the ecosystem, the volume, the deliveries, but we're just not at that level yet. And until we're there, then I don't know.
FSD will be huge, and it's not for the robotaxi thing. There's too many flaws with the robotaxi thing. It's because people will truly utilize FSD and buy a Tesla over a different vehicle. because of FSD.
Yeah, I know. So Lemonade said the other day they would handle all the Tesla insurance. I don't think
Perfect.
Elon didn't respond to that, but you did have one insurance company come out and said we would take all the liability, which is kind of
There you
wild.
go. So then it's all good. You'll have coverage. You just got to go to Lemonade for the car.
Well, Elon's also got to agree that Lemonade should be their provider. He has not done that yet, but
Well,
there are going to be other ones, as you said.
Does Elon have to have a say in it? I mean, if Lemonade's going to allow the liability on their policy, that's not an Elon decision. All they're saying is if you get into an accident with FSD, we're going to cover the claim and the
Well,
liability.
if they want a like go to market partnership with Tesla,
That's different. Partnership is different.
Yeah.
That's absolutely different. You just need a insurance company to say that they will cover it. That's all you need. And if Lemonade's saying that they will cover it, great.
So what other growth vertical next year do you think Tesla has that can actually make the stock move higher? Because it's not energy, unless they like really ramp that up.
Subsidies are gone on energy too at the end of this year.
And the battery packs, I mean, they're already growing it at 100%. If they grow it at another 100%, okay, cool. But that's not like changing the dynamics of the valuation on the stock. So then it comes down to deliveries on the vehicles, which I know rates are coming down, but again, like what is the real incentive to buy a Tesla? So then the only thing that's left is FSD and Optimus. And if it's not Optimus, which again, he didn't really give us any guidance that 2026 we would see some meaningful deliveries in Optimus, then it has to be FSD. And I think that the best shot for them to have a real breakthrough next year is FSD gets very close to unsupervised or full on unsupervised. But if it's not at these, no, if Tesla was 250 today, it'd be a different story. But Tesla at 420 is more so like, all right, so there's a lot baked into this valuation at this point.
There's a lot baked in. I'm looking for the cost. Where's the, just give me one sec. So energy.
Someone has a question right here. Let me just ask this question. Someone says, should I dump my Tesla that I bought at $45 since 2017 and buy Palantir, Hood, or Amazon? So I'd love the chat answer that one. I mean, look, here's my take. And I said this when Jeremy was selling his Tesla as well. His average was at $13. I would not, because at the end of the day, I think you have such a high margin of safety. I don't think Tesla's ever going back to 45. I really doubt it ever goes back into the low 200s. That I think it's a lottery ticket now, and you just hold on to it forever. So I would not sell Tesla if you were sitting at an average under 100. I mean, at that point, now I get it. People think, well, the stock might underperform, but like you're sitting on a 10x basically. So even if it goes down, it's like, all right, well, you're sitting on it. And Elon is now incentivized to take its 10 trillion. So I personally, if I had that average, I wouldn't take profits here. But I can understand thinking, hey, what if there's other opportunities that are actually growing? And that's a fair point. It's just then, as much as we're talking about the lack of potential actual growth in Tesla, the potential of the stories and the story's ability to manifest in growth, even if it's not in 27 or 28, but 2030, 2035, that is more exciting than pretty much every company in the market outside of maybe Nvidia, right? Like there's not that many other companies that have a story and a narrative that is so vast to get you, those 50% growth rates again like Tesla.
I just ran the numbers real quick. Energy did over $1 billion in gross profit this quarter. So that's great. Services, 366 million gross profit. That's good. Energy is great. But once again, without these subsidies, I don't know. I think most of the business is going to come from the big battery packs for data centers. I don't think many people are going to be buying solar panels for their houses and spending 30, 40, 50 grand on a system without the subsidies.
No way. That's why Enphase has been cooked. This is a data center play now, which is exciting because the data centers have a ton of demand. So, why should freaking Bloom Energy or Oklo be getting all this multiple? Why isn't that baked into Tesla? So it's just how much it's already 1.4 trillion. Like how much is there? How much growth could you bake into the energy part of the business to help the valuation?
I don't know, because if you assume that, sorry, I had to turn my ringer on because I have some work stuff going on. But if you assume that they're not going to get a lot of data center build out except from XAI, I mean, I don't know. Right now, the majority of the revenue is still coming from automobiles. Yes, it has transitioned a little bit, but it's even more important that we see services explode, and you don't get that without FSD. It's even more important that you add another vertical. You don't get that without Optimus. So the answer to your question is, without Optimus and without FSD, there are no other verticals for them to go into.
There's
because
nothing.
You're pretty much tapped at your growth rate with energy right now.
Yeah. And again, let's assume they double the energy growth rate. Like that doesn't make a meaningful difference for the bottom line. So it's FSD or bust next year, because it's not Optimus. Unless Elon really, I mean, the fact that they said the production line is starting in 2026 means there's no way it could be Optimus. They will hopefully start producing Optimus, but they will not be selling Optimus. Because first of all, well, you need to produce it before you can sell it. Second of all, the AI in the bot needs to be good enough to sell it. There is no evidence that the AI in the bot is anyone good. Every video we've seen has been a dancing video. Nothing's been anything meaningful, right? So I think Optimus is a wash for 26. I agree. Which means it's FSD or bust next year in terms of really changing the narrative on stock appreciation. And maybe, I'll try FSD 14. Maybe it's closer to unsupervised than we think. But if it doesn't get to unsupervised, the incentive isn't that strong next year.
I don't know. We'll see. I think Q4 is going to be interesting. So I just wish you went about the earnings call a little bit differently.
Did you buy anything today on the dip?
Yes.
Did you even know we had a dip?
I bought more Energy Transfer.
Ooh, ET.
Yeah, ET phone home, right?
It's a nice little divvy stock. Okay, ET. There you go. All right, folks. I think that's it for us. Steve, are you going to go live later tonight?
Probably later, like 9:30 for a little bit. We'll see.
Okay, so I'm going to link Steve's channel right here on my channel. If you don't subscribe to him, you can subscribe to him here. Look, overall, it was a decent quarter. I think for everyone who said the stock likely is not going to go to the moon or not going to go to the graveyard, I mean, yeah, it's down 3-4%, whatever. It was at this level last week, so we didn't see too much change in that. Earnings call was fine. I don't think it was necessarily horrible. I just think you didn't get a ton of optimistic predictions on robots for next year. But you did get a lot of optimism around unsupervised FSD. So I think that's the thing that everyone will be waiting for going into next year. All right, there you go. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We have officially started Big Tech earnings. And hopefully Steve and I can do a bunch more of these throughout the rest of the next couple of weeks, and we'll keep going from there. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody.
See everybody later.
See you guys tomorrow morning. Bye, everyone.